Welcome everyone. Today we'll be talking about the highly anticipated Sony a7 IV, which is remarkably one of the best all-round hybrid shooters. And yes, it will be the spiritual successor to the Sony a7 Mark III, which actually came out in 2018, and it was so amazing. Yes, I am looking to get one of the Sony a7 IV when it really comes out, like in the fall or this year. We definitely had a lot of camera bodies like from Sony, Nikon and Canon itself. So yeah, it will be a surprise to see how the Sony a7 IV comes out. Okay, so this video will be in two parts. In the first part, I will talk about the remote specs and which are like on the internet and which the people are like rumoring about the Sony a7 IV. And part 2 of this video will be my personal thoughts and which of the features will be and which might not. Okay, so let's talk about the sensor first. Yes, we might have a very good upgrade and we might see a brand new sensor. Yes, we might be seeing an upgrade from the 24 BSI CMOS sensor to a 30 to 32 megapixel CMOS sensor. Yes, don't worry about the low light performance. Yes, we definitely have the outstanding A7S III, which just rocks about 12 megapixel, but that definitely shoots outstanding stills as well. But it's primarily a video camera. So if you are thinking that upgrading from the 24 to the 30 megapixel barrier would affect low light, think again. The processing is much better, and we have seen how the Sony a7 III performs. So the Sony a7 IV won't be a disappointment if you are thinking to shoot a lot of content in low light. Speaking of the image processor, yes, it should have the Bions X processor. We might not see the Bions XR, which is in the Sony a7 III. Yes, if you want to really handle 4K 120 fps, 8K 130 fps, but sadly to say, those modes will not be in this camera. This camera, the Sony a7 IV, will primarily focus both in the photo department and the video department. So let us talk about the continuous, like the shooting modes, like the burst frame rates, like the FPS. So it's rumored that it will have around 10 FPS and 15 FPS in both silent as well as mechanical shutter. Yes, it will definitely have like face tracking and eye autofocus while video shooting, so that if you are taking like the burst capture 15 FPS, so your 90% of your shots will definitely be in focus. And if you're wondering what are the video modes, yes, it will support like 1080p 120 fps, it might be 240 fps, and the 4K 60 fps. So it's not sure like we will be getting 4K 120. That's highly improbable, but we'll see. Talking of picture profiles, yes, like the Sony a6000, like the entry level, the APS-C series, very few of them actually had picture profiles. Like the higher one definitely had, but the Sony a7 Alpha lineup definitely had very good picture profiles. Yes, like if you don't know what are picture profiles, they are basically modes of recording, like the log format, in which they are used to actually capture more dynamic range. So the colors are really flat. So at first from the in camera, if you see, you will not be very impressed with the colors, but that's the point. You're actually capturing as much of information in the shadows as well as the highlight portion, so that in post, when you correct the data, you have a lot to work with. So definitely you will have S-Log3, Cinetones and Gamma log profiles. So yeah, there's no shortages of picture profiles. For those of you who do not want to record in 4K, yes, I understand. If you record in 4K, you definitely should have the gear to actually process that footage, like your editing software or your like computer. So if you are stuck with 1080p, that's totally fine. You will have 120 fps, and that will give you that ultra smooth buttery slow-mo effect. Speaking of new physical overview, we'll have a lot of custom buttons right in the front or the back, and the back screen will have a variable flippable screen, just like the Sony a7 III. So yeah, that will be a huge benefit to the aspiring filmmakers. And if you are like shooting really low to the ground, or you're taking shots from very difficult angles and which you cannot see to the screen, but if you flip the screen, you definitely can. And definitely it helps for vlogging or just making YouTube videos. You can just place your camera in a stand and you can just see the happenings right in the screen, which is sadly absent from the Sony a7 III. Yes, it was a huge complaint for a lot of people, but that doesn't matter. You actually could actually fit an external monitor if you are into that. Speaking of the EVF or the electronic viewfinder, you will definitely have an upgrade over the last year's the a7 III. Yeah, it was rocking a 3.69 million dot resolution EVF, which is just okay. It's not something very good like the Sony a7 Mark IV, the R4 series, rather the high resolution ones. It had a 5.76, and the Sony a7 III had a 9.44 million dot something. So that are crazy good and very crystal sharp. So I expect we definitely will have have a 5.76, but the rumors suggest otherwise. They might stick with the 3.69 not so good EVF. The screen resolution on the back, like the flippy screen, won't won't have an upgrade either. I think it will be still under a 1 million resolution something. Come on, Sony makes one of the best screens for TVs and smartphones, so why don't they just simply upgrade to a very, very good, bright and color rich display on the back of the cameras? Just please do it. Speaking of ports, we'll definitely have a dual card slots, just like in the A7S III, and it's revolutionary innovation from Sony, in which you can definitely insert either the medium speed SD cards if you are into normal shooting, or if you want crazy high frame rates, then you should definitely go with CF Express Type A cards. So it's like a hybrid slot. So having two card slots is very, very beneficial if you are if you want to have backup of your footage and you do not have any fear later on, you have your data protected. And speaking of other points, you definitely have USB 3.1 Gen 1 Type-C port so that you can charge your camera. You will definitely have a micro USB port if you want to update something other or connect something else. You will have a 3.5 mm mic input. And talking about the headphone jack, I don't think you will have, because it will be difficult to actually fit another jack, but we'll see. Hope they include that. And the overall body construction would be from magnesium alloy, and yes, it will be sturdy, and as expected it should be weather sealed, so you should not have any worries taking out in difficult altitudes or where there's too much moisture, humidity, snow, rain, all that stuff. Lastly, it will be rocking the NPFZ 100 industrial standard batteries, which is found in the APC lineup A6600 and all these A7 on the A9 cameras. Yes, that are really very good batteries, and they actually last above for around 500 to 600, even 700 shots. So battery life won't be a problem. So that was the first part of the video. Now let's talk about the second part of the video, in which I will be discussing about certain features or points which I think should be there, and let's see if it really ends up happening. First, some people were guessing that this Sony A7 IV would have a 4K 120 FPS mode. I really don't think so, because if this camera at a very lower price than the A7 III does have 4K 120 FPS, I think for a lot of average and a general a little tighter budget audience, it will completely crush the sales of the A7S III. So they would definitely like to keep a distinction between that and this, and this is primarily a hybrid camera. So yeah, it will get the job done for both. And speaking of the EVF, I definitely hope that they would actually upgrade from the 3.69 million dot to the 5.76 million dot resolution EVF. And it's very nice to have either 120 Hz or 240 Hz refresh rate, so that the EVF definitely updates in real time, so you won't have any problem in tracking, or if you're definitely using much more of the EVF. And as expected, Sony's outclassing its very good autofocus system. It will have the hybrid system, both the face detection and the contrast detection. You'll definitely see both eye and animal IF, so you don't have any issues with tracking, or if you are mostly into subject focus oriented shots. So it's very good for product details shots, tighter shots, cinematic shots. So yeah, that won't be any problem. So that's it for today's video, and these are some of the specs and the news regarding the latest Sony like the budget oriented Sony A7 IV, which is highly anticipated to actually come in a matter of 3 or 4 months. We do not have any official dates yet, so we'll have to see what happens. If you're using any Sony camera body, do let me know in the comment section. I would be happy to reply. And what do you think about this upcoming camera? Do let me know. If you like watching today's content, definitely hit the like button, and if you are not subscribed yet, definitely consider it. I will be bringing more such content to you, so better not miss out. Definitely hit the bell icon so that you will have the updates of my new videos when they roll out. Till then, I will catch you guys in the next video. See ya.